The thing that I'm going to be explaining how to do is how to properly kick a soccer ball. So to properly kick a soccer ball, there are a lot of different techniques and rules that kind of come together to allow a player to get the perfect kick, and they are all shown in these pictures. So the first step is the space in between the player and the ball is they're kicking. They need to make sure that their plantar foot is in the right position next to the ball, and they need to make sure that their plantar foot is pointing in the right direction. And then lastly, they need to make sure as their foot is coming into contact with the ball that their foot is hitting the ball in the correct spot. So the first thing is the space in between the player and the ball. The reason this is so important is because if they don't have enough space, they might not get enough power behind the kick, and it may not make it to where it's supposed to go. So if they're just kind of making a short little pass, most likely it will get there, but if they're wanting to do kind of like a pass across the field or a pass like halfway across the field, it may not make it there if they don't have enough power. Also, if they don't have enough space, they may not be able to get all the techniques in, and the ball may not be as accurate as they wish that it would be. So the second thing is that the player needs to make sure that their plantar foot, which is the foot that will not be coming into contact with the ball, is placed in the right position. So there's two different positions you can put your plantar foot in. The first one is right next to the ball. This one is for the shorter passes that they want on the ground. These do not usually get up into the air if you do it correctly. They are for the shorter, more accurate passes to your teammates. The second one is the one where your foot is slightly behind the ball. It's still next to it, but these are for the longer passes, the ones that are for like shots. These are less accurate because it's up in the air and things like the wind and stuff can influence where the ball goes, and it may not make it correctly to the player. But the one right next to the ball is for the shorter passes, and then the one kind of slightly behind is for the longer and the shots. So the third thing is that they need to make sure that their plantar foot is pointing in the correct direction. A lot of people don't think about this one. But it's very important because wherever your plantar foot is pointing, that's most likely where the ball is going to go. So if you're wanting to pass to your teammate, you need to make sure that your plantar foot is pointed towards your teammate. And then if you're wanting to shoot the ball, you need to make sure that your plantar foot is facing the goal, because where your body ends up after, like facing after your kick, is where the ball most likely ends up. So if your plantar foot is pointing towards the goal, your body will be facing the goal after your kick is done, and the ball will most likely be going towards the goal. So the last step is making sure that the player kicks the ball correctly with their foot. So there are different ways to kick the ball. If you're passing, you kick it with the inside of the foot. This is definitely more accurate and for like the kind of smaller, lower passes. And then if you're wanting to shoot or do long passes, most of the time you kick it with your laces. This allows for the ball to get up in the air and to make it to the player. And then one thing that you definitely never do is kick it with your toe. If you kick it with your toe, you will have absolutely no idea where it's going, because it could go off your toe to the left, it could go straight, or it could go to the right. You never know where it's going to end up. So never do that when you're kicking the ball. So all of these different things come together when you're wanting to get the perfect kick, and as long as the player does all of these things, they will definitely have their perfect kick at the end.